Welcome to the Full Nielsen. Today I'm going to be reviewing a Taurus TX22 competition. If somebody had told me that I would ever in my lifetime buy a Taurus, I would have told them they were crazy. Taurus historically has not had a very good reputation of making quality firearms. And I had completely written them off based off of the experience that friends and other people, coworkers and stuff I have heard who have had negative experiences with Taurus. Until my brother picked up a standard Taurus TX22. I had the opportunity to shoot that firearm and I was incredibly impressed with the trigger of the firearm, the feel of the firearm and the ergonomics of it, the reliability of it. So much so that I decided to go out and get myself this competition model, and it has been a phenomenal firearm. So today I'm going to go through some of the things that I really like about it and some things that you may want to be aware of with it. If you want the brief condensed version, awesome 22, awesome training tool for anybody that wants a firearm that resembles most modern Palmer striker fired firearms like a Glock, a Smith & Wesson M&P, a SIG, Springfield XD, any of those types of firearms. This is going to be an excellent firearm to mimic a lot of the features of those firearms for practice or training purposes. Now, I'm going to go ahead and show you the takedown of this real quick, and hopefully this will be insightful to some of you who are curious whether or not it can be taken down with an optic attached to it. I know that's something I was a little bit curious about, but to take it down, it is very similar to, as I mentioned, a Glock, a Smith & Wesson, a SIG. Many of those firearms, some of them have a lever, some of them will have pull tabs like this. Anyway, so I'll go ahead and show you that. So you need to make sure the weapon is clear, of course. Then you're going to drop the magazine out of the firearm. You're going to pull these tabs down right here and then dry fire the firearm. And you do need to take your muzzle device off. Sorry, I probably should have done that first. I totally forgot. But now that I've dry fired the firearm and the tabs are pulled down, this is already, as you can see, let's not lose my O-ring here. You can already see this as slipping forward here, but anyway. And the slide just comes off just like that, okay? See, this has got a little bit of nastiness on it. Here's your recoil spring. Then your whole barrel assembly with your optic will come apart just like this. And the optic is attached to the barrel assembly. Now, in order for me to attach this Holosun, sorry, not Holosun, it's manufactured by Holosun, 4SIG, Romeo 5 red dot, I had to get a piece of Picatinny that was designed to made up to this barrel. And it is made of Palmer, which I'm not a huge fan of. At the time, there wasn't anything aluminum available, and I'm not sure if somebody has fixed that today. But I love the Romeo 5 red dots, especially for the price. I've probably got, I don't know, a lot of them. 10 of them. I've never seen one of them fail. And so I figured it'd be a good fit for this firearm. The one thing that allows you to use a Romeo 5 on a firearm like this, hold on one second while I put this back together. Put my little O-ring on here for my muzzle device. One thing that allows you to use a Romeo 5 on a handgun like this is the red dot is not writing on the slide like it is on other handguns. And if it were, I'm not sure how a Romeo 5 would hold up to that kind of abuse. But it's not taking any more abuse like this than it really would on a rifle, because you can see the slide's going to reciprocate, and this, for the most part, is going to stay stationary. So anyway, so you can mount even red dots like this on here, which I really like. The closed emitter design, and for the price, they're just phenomenal. So that's the way that you take down the Taurus TX22. Very much resembles many of the modern carry guns that people are using nowadays, which is one of the reasons why I think it's a good training tool or a good firearm to learn on, both in the takedown and then in other aspects of the firearm. Now, the next aspect I'm going to talk about with this firearm are the ergonomics and the controls of this firearm. The grip of this firearm feels really good in hand. It is very comfortable. I haven't met anybody yet who held it that did not like the feel in hand of the grip on this firearm. The controls in terms of the magazine release, the safety mechanism, all of that stuff, the controls are excellent on the firearm. The slide stop mechanism could be a little bit bigger for those people who want to use that instead of overhand method to release the slide. Especially for the competition model, they probably could have made that a little bit beefier. But overall, the controls and the ergonomics of the firearm are superb. It has the ability to mount a flashlight on here with the little Picatinny sections up here, or whatever it is that you want to call this, Picatinny slots, or anyway, light mounting slots on this. The competition model does have the barrel exposed because of this cut, unlike the standard model. So if you're going to be using this in an environment, say motorcycle, an ATV on horseback or something like that, where you might get a lot of dirt or debris in it, this might not be a good model to get for that reason, because you may end up filling the firearm full of crud in a way that you wouldn't with the standard model, that all of this would be enclosed. Now the trade-off obviously is that with the standard model, you are going to lose the ability to mount a red dot unless there's some other option out there that I'm not aware of to mount a red dot. Maybe taking the rear side out or something like that. There's an option that way. Another difference between this and the standard model is there's more material up here on the barrel or on the slide. I've heard of people cracking this section on the standard model because it's just a little thin piece of, I believe this is aluminum. Whereas on the competition model, there's a nice beefy piece of aluminum, and you're not going to crack just that little section that you would on the standard model. This also has a threaded barrel, and it does not require an adapter. It's direct thread right onto the barrel itself, whereas the standard model, you need an adapter that you thread on, and then you're threading your suppressor onto that. So there's a little bit more complexity to that than there is just direct thread, and probably a little more that could potentially go wrong with that in terms of having a baffle strike or something come loose that way. But anyway, now I'm just noticing this. It looks like this pin has walked a little bit, so I guess that's something to be aware of. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to grab a tool and fix that. I just got through telling people in one of my other videos how handy these types of pliers are, smooth jawed pliers. But I'm going to demonstrate that for you right now. I'm going to take that pin and just with a little squeeze, I just push that pin right back in where it needs to be. This one feels fine. I didn't notice that until now, that walking at all, and I really don't know if it's walked or if it's been that way the whole time, and I just haven't noticed it. Anyway, overall reliability wise, I have run about 1,500 rounds through this handgun, and it has run exceptionally well. I believe I had a few malfunctions with it when I first got it with one of the magazines, and I believe it was the way that I loaded it. I'm accustomed to loading magazines like this one off this Browning Buckmark to have a tab that you depress, and you can just drop the rounds in there any which way, and you don't usually have a problem. But what I induced by pushing it down like this in this magazine is rim lock. And what rim lock is with the 22 is when the round underneath is sitting further forward than the round that goes in on top. So the round on top is coming in and the rim is locking like this. And when it goes to strip the round off, it can't get past the rim of the round that's below it. That's a potential issue with nearly any rim-fired cartridge. They need to be designed and loaded in a way that you're not going to introduce that rim lock ever. It's a surefire way to cause a malfunction. The way I made sure that I didn't have that problem is by just simply pushing the rounds down and in on top of each other, and I did not use this little tab here to load it at all, and I never had an issue doing that. I've seen other people that said they used the tab and they've never had an issue with it, but I did for whatever reason. So reliability has been excellent. Like I said, 1,500 rounds, and outside of maybe 2 or 3 malfunctions when I loaded the magazine that funny way, I have not had any malfunctions.
and it's fired everything that I fed it, and I fed it nothing but bulk ammunition, Remington Thunderbolt, some Aguila 38 grain something or other, and then some Federal bulk ammunition. And there's probably one or two other types. Oh yeah, I fed it some really old, super old ammunition. I can't even remember the name of it. But anyway, so reliability has been superb. Accuracy, the accuracy is good. It is not on par with a Ruger Mark IV or a Browning Buckmark or any other more target-oriented pistol, in my opinion. And that's probably due to the trigger being a more of a striker fire type design, where you pull it back, it hits a wall, and then it breaks. Now, it's a very good striker fire trigger. It's far superior to what you would typically find in a Glock or most Smith & Wessons or Springfield XD or any of that, or even most SIGs. It's excellent. You can see how it breaks. Not very heavy, and the reset is very short. If I had to guess, if a Glock is maybe 6 pounds, a stock Glock, this is probably half that. It's got to be like 3 pounds, something. Anyway, it feels superb. Maybe it's just how good the trigger is and how crisp it is that it feels that light, but I'm quite sure it is relatively light. I don't have a trigger pull gauge, so I can't tell you, but it is phenomenal, better than almost any striker fire trigger I've ever shot. In fact, I have some Timney triggers in my Glocks, and I think this trigger is even better than that. With that said, it's not as good as what you're going to get in a Browning Buckmark or an aftermarket trigger for like a Ruger Mark IV or something like that. Now, compared to the stock trigger in a Ruger Mark IV, this is probably about as good as that. So, trigger is excellent, and ergonomics excellent. Reliability's been excellent. Overall, this is a phenomenal firearm. Competition model or the standard model, I have experience with both. I highly recommend them for anybody who's looking for a reliable 22 handgun that also would double as a very good training tool to learn the battery of arms of your Glocks, your Smith & Wessons, your Springfield XDs, any of those guns. So anyway, that's what I think of this gun. Phenomenal. If you guys have any questions or comments or any experience using this firearm or other 22 handguns similar to it that you would recommend to people, feel free to leave your experience and your comments in the comment section below. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.